there. Okay, I think I'm back on track now. Okay, so I still want to come across here, and I'm still working around that one flower. And at this point, if you don't like the shape of any of your petals, you can bring it down. And I would probably make sure that I got a little bit more paint just in that area. Let's see how I shaped that a little bit different. And then I want to start working on the flowers that were underneath and come in here and put some color around them. And see this spray of buds here? This is where you're going to see all that magic start. I am going to fluff some paint part way down. And you can see how that kind of shades those little buds. And then I generally tap some paint out so it's not so heavy. But I'll work on this flower. And one thing that I learned a long time ago from Wanda Clapham is that each flower is a separate being. So you work on one flower at a time. Don't go mass producing and things of that nature. So when you're doing this, let's work on one flower at a time. So see how I have that? Now I'm going to come and I'm going to turn this back around, and hopefully we're still, I think I have to put this back up a little bit, and I have a delay, unfortunately. So now you see this flower right here that we kind of hid in there. We're going to bring that back out by actually bringing some paint around it. And then we're going to come over, we're coming right over the top of this one. And I'm bringing some paint around that. And I told you to work one flower at a time, and I missed this side of this flower. Now, this looks a little stark to have this one so white against this one. So we'll bring a little bit of paint, and all I'm doing is brushing kind of like a C-stroke on that petal, doing one petal at a time. And see how I've put a little bit of paint there. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're actually going to bring more of that paint across it. And then I want to come in and I want to get some paint in here. And again, I'm coming over and kind of cross-hatching across some of those buds. And I'm going to pull a little bit of that paint. Don't worry if you get a little too much on there. I'll show you some tricks there. We pretty much have that side done. You see what it's doing to, it's really shading all those flowers. Now I want to come across this flower here and put paint around this flower. Now you see what it's done to this little petal there. It's just about taking care of it all. I'm going to take my cleaning tool. I didn't mean to get that much paint over it. And I'm going to come back and just wipe the edge of that out. So this petal is pretty much shadowed, but we want to show the edge of it so that you know that it's there. So I'll come back around here on this side of it. I can leave this empty here, but I'm going to put some paint in here because I think I might be setting up some new flowers in there. Now, you don't necessarily want to go across everything either, and that's something that I've done over there, but over here on this side, I'm going to leave that petal kind of hanging out there without anything. We're not going to play Ring Around the Rosie there. And I might take and just put just a dab of paint down here to shape that petal. And I'm blotting my brush right now, and I'm going to come and pull a little bit of that out so it's not so stop and start heavy line there. See what I've done? And then we can leave this on this side and not put anything around it, but I want to get a little bit in here to set up these buds. And again, I'm not going to go all the way down, but I'm going to get some color. And it doesn't have to be perfect right now, because we'll take and bring that out some. I have one more flower, and we have to decide now if we want this flower on top of this flower or vice versa. And quite honestly, I think it's going to look nicer underneath it. So we'll bring that here. I like that, the dark blue there and the dark blue there. We're going to make this a little darker here. Bring that together. Bring some in here. And just tiptoe around it with your paint. Then if you see something that you think looks a little heavy, we can fix that. So there's pretty much setting up. I don't like how white this flower is, and I don't like how white that flower is. So I'm going to come in and bring a little paint up against those centers, just like this. And put just a little paint on it. Okay? What do you think about that? You can also go back and you can go into this one and put a little shading in this one too, just up close to the centers. Just like that. Okay? What I would do now is clean my brush out and probably put a little bit of oil in it, blot it out real good, and then come back, and any place like here where you have a buildup of paint, just come over it and do that little bit of fluffing out so that it doesn't look so painted, I guess I would say. And then do the same thing on your buds here, and come and bring some of that paint and smooth it out. And if you think that you have too much in some areas here, do one of those numbers with your cleaning tool. And then don't forget to smooth that out. And then you want to kind of tippy-toe down to nothing here. And I'm going to do the same thing right here and smooth out some of this paint. Got it? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and wipe back, take the paint off of those centers, and look and see if there's any petals that you want to define the edges of. Maybe if there's a petal that you have buried, and I really don't see any that's too terribly buried here, but you want people to know that it's there. Here's right here, we could highlight the edge of that petal by pulling a little bit of that paint off. Again, I just have turpentine, so you show a little bit more of that. Maybe even the edge of this one here. See how that really takes that and then it sets it off. You could do the same thing here, or even right here. Show a little more of the edge, or you can keep it buried. I mean, they look nice buried. Up here, it looks like I got just a little too much paint right there. Let's take and push that up with our brush. Make it a prettier edge. Okay? I think that that's as far as I would go with that aspect of it. But the next thing that we definitely want to do is come in here and add just a few more flowers. And probably the best way to do that is to come in here with some blue paint And let's sketch again where we think that we want it to go. And I want mine to come up this way into an S, and then maybe down this way to make that S shape. So I want to get my line on there, and you could even put that on if you wanted to when you're beginning your painting, so that you know where you want it to go. And then, you know, if you get your hand in it, you do, and don't worry about it. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paint some paint and go right over and forget that I even have a leaf there. And I probably don't have enough paint because I'm not using the right brush. But I'm going to do that in both areas. And I'm going to get the right brush that I like. And I'm going to come back in and try to, just like we did last week, as if this was a first firing, but don't pay any attention to the fact that you have a leaf there. And don't pay any attention to this leaf up here. And we're going to try to blend all that blue together right here. And if you kind of mess up what you've done, we can go back and clean that out later. So what I'm going to do is I've got that all pulled out. I'm going to do exactly like we did last week and come in here and again forget that there's a leaf there, and I'm going to draw a flower here. There's the top petal, the side petals, the bottom petals, and you know I drew that a lot bigger than those other ones are. And then I'm going to come with one more off of here that's just going to have, oh, maybe it's going to have 4 petals showing. And then up here, again forgetting that there's a leaf there, I'm going to make this my center, and there's going to be my top petal, and there's my side. And you know where this is going to go, don't you? We're going to put one here. Okay, and let's do another one over here will be fine. And this is going to be, again, just a couple petals. And we're going to come back in and forget again that there's a leaf there. My brush has been wiped with turpentine. Doesn't feel like it has been, but it has been. We're going to wipe out. I guess that's not going to have as many petals as I think, and I'm not sure I'm going to like this one here, but let's try it and see what happens. Again, it's too big, so back to the old drawing board. I need to really forget that leaf is there, huh? Get my paint. Let's see, I want this going down here, so let's do this. Let's put this for, and I can tell you can't see this. There's going to be my top petal and a side petal, and this is going to be one of those little bottom ones. And then I'll come off here and make this the other flower. So let's have at this again and see if we can't make this work. So there's my top petal, my side petal. Again, you can see I'm kind of going side to side when I try to pull those up. And I'm purposely, I like to pull to the center. From the outside to the center makes a nice petal. But I'm trying to keep this so that you can see it as I find turning it around, I'm losing track of where everything has to be. So hopefully this move's not going to make a big difference to you. Now normally when I do forget-me-nots, I do them in 2 firings, but because I wasn't paying too much attention last week to my pattern, I'm going to probably have to do, like, it's going to be 3 firings, but we're not going to do a lot on that last firing. It's just going to be more setting these up, and you know, we might even be able to get in there, and if we leave enough paint on this, maybe we don't have to, I don't know. We still probably have to do another firing. I don't think you can get the depth in 1 firing on any flower. And I think you can see that too, and you probably, hopefully, you see more why we say that you have to go over it a second time instead of trying to get all your color on at once. These seem to be working a little bit better for me than those other guys did. I don't know what's up with that, but, and I don't always get my petals shaped very well either. You know, it's just all trial and error. And a lot of times they don't look good until you get some centers into them anyway. But this is what we do and how we change paintings around to make it work for us. Especially after you fired something, makes a big difference. Now up here, I'm going to try to pull just a little bit more off. We're going to take and wipe the centers, and I'm going to go ahead and put the yellow paint into them. I think first down here, these I might have wiped a little too much out, so I'm going to come back here and get some color and try to wipe back into it and make something out of it. It's going to look much better. Okay, so here goes my yellow. I'm going to put them up here. And remember what we did last week? We went and we took this excess paint out here and we feathered it out. I'm going to take some of this out. I'd like to have some blank area in between these, so I'm going to try to get this out, and I'm going to come up here and take some of that excess out and some of this, and I'm sure there's going to be some more buds go in here someplace. But what I'm going to do is stop for a minute, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to get this all filtered out the way I want, and then we'll come back in here and finish up.